just like the way they read the railroad back in America.
Can we whistle? I'll just cheer.
Working on the chain.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
Yeah! Welcome to Ofra in the Forge, Judean Roundtable. So here we are, guys. We are in a really amazing place right now. We are in a forge. Why are we in a forge in Ofra? Well, Ofra is a very, very, really interesting place. Before we get into that, I just want to let everybody know that most metalworking shops, I'm going to take this off, most metalworking shops are off limits to anybody who's not insured, licensed, or whatever. Yeah. But here, they do classes. This is a part of a tourism circuit.
I like it.
This is great. So anyway,
these are all original. They made this
Staying in
here.
character. Staying in character.
When do I get to kill someone? I only came here for that.
Anyway,
No, but this was made here. They created this here. This is a recreation of what is it called? What is it called?
Like a spear.
it's
A spear, a Roman spear, right?
No. Bar Kokhba.
Our Kochma spear.
Jewish spear, baby.
This was from the Jews. Oh, yeah, I'm talking to
Yossi.
Yossi. This is Yossi's Forge, the metal workshop. He created this based on a real one that they found in a cave just here in the hills of Binyamin. And he created this, and the one that was on your head, and that one. All created here in
let me say, it's really cool. You know what's really cool is that you could take something that seems like pretty like mundane, right? Metalworking, right? I know that Yosi makes banisters, he does things home decor and things like that. But you put somebody in the heartland of Israel for a forge, there is no escaping to creating a spear from the Bar Kokhba age. Like it becomes like it almost becomes like a natural progression, to bring the old into the new, and what you're doing now into completely.
I think the exciting thing is knowing this was made based on a real one that was found. That's 2,000-year-old spear, a real one that was found that was used by our ancestors to fight in one of the most biggest successful rebellions, even though it was put down in the end, against the Roman Empire.
We were warriors. We were a nation of warriors. This connects us to our warrior tribal roots. And this was the exact replica of what was found. It's an incredible, incredible piece of equipment.
Unbelievable.
What's the name of the workshop where we are now? What's the name?
Gur-Arye.
Gur-Arye.
Gur-Arye, which is a very special name. Gur is a cub of a lion. There's a sefer, there's a book written by the Maharal that is called the Gur-Arye. I think that's his parish on the Torah. I think it's the Gur-Arye. In any case, it's a very special meeting, and we are all cubs. We're all lion cubs, and again, when you think about a lion, going back to our source as a tribe, that again, even though it's the past, it's the present. Like we're used to Western civilization where, oh, no, fighting is bad. No, you don't want to fight, but you have to know how to self-defend yourself in order to fight, in order to protect yourself, your nation, your identity, your land. That's the way life was. That's the way life is today. Unfortunately, many of our friends and neighbors around the world still live in denial that reality has changed. They thought after World War II, oh, that's it, no more wars. The biggest war is behind us. Let's all have peace. But no, it's peace by strength. If you want to have peace, you have to know how to stand up for yourself and be willing to defend yourself.
And that's really, unfortunately, the problem now. And I'm seeing it on social media. Unfortunately, some of our own people who don't recognize that reality of that history. That if you pick up any Bible, you'll see that the Jews were a fighting force. I mean, Abraham brought an army and went in the battle of the 4 kings and the 5 kings, and there are a lot of different interpretations exactly who fought or whatnot. But if it's Abraham, if it's Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, Joshua, I mean, the Jews had to stick up for themselves. The whole story of Hanukkah, the whole story of Purim, I mean, these are based around military victories of the Jewish people. Now, fast forward 2,000 years later, and we have the first Jewish army since those Maccabees, and people don't they'd rather be, the bottom line is people would rather, unfortunately, I think, be the victim than recognize the fact
Rabbi
that
Shmuley Bataf just published an article about that, about why Hollywood Jews are anti-Israel, because they don't understand, they don't get it. They don't get the fact that Jews are not meant to be victims anymore.
Right.
We've been conditioned, that's what I'm saying, we've been conditioned to feel like that we can't be strong. And that's why there's so much pushback, it's so uncomfortable for people.
But it isn't just Jews. This is a global issue where, let's say the American society, for instance, everything's based on emotions, social acceptance. They have a very hard time actually believing that evil exists in the world even. You can even drive throughout Israel.
Deny it. Forget about it. They
throughout
deny
the country, and you can feel no evil. No, where's the war, they ask me. Where's all this hatred I'm seeing? Everything's peaceable and peaceful. There's a lot of background that a lot of people are missing, and they fail to see the realities of the world, so they fail to prepare for it.
Right.
And they find themselves behind the eight ball, like our people did in 1938, 39, and 40 in Europe.
When it's too late.
I mean, if you can't see an ISIS video, you know, one of those brutal, horrible PR stunt videos, if you can't see that that's pure evil, and again, I'm just using that as the example. You can get into the whole problem of basically, you know, Hamas is ISIS without the fireworks and the propaganda and the same PR team that sends out these types of videos. But if you're not willing to recognize that it does exist, and there is a black and white between good and evil in this world, and I think that's been skewed. There's so much gray out there, and I'm not saying there aren't gray areas in certain situations, but to deny the fact that evil exists, that it has to be dealt with head on, I mean, you're just...
right, but take it deeper.
Yeah,
good
go
has
ahead.
become evil.
And that's true
And
as
evil
well.
has become good.
Right.
Tipsy-topsy.
You go to a campus, a university campus nowadays in the States, you unfurl an Israeli flag, you're evil.
Yeah.
You unfurl a Hamas flag, a Hezbollah flag, even
ISIS
explain
flag.
to them what it is. And they welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, you're part of that.
Everything is upside down.
Resistance.
Which is why we need spears and helmets.
Right.
That's like the original Tavor right there.
Right.
Listen, you were talking about how in today's Western mentality, feelings are that's the language. That's society. It's based on feelings. And I was just listening to a Dennis Prager fireside chat. I think one of the latest ones, and he dealt with this specific issue because that is where society is coming apart. Life is not about feelings. Life is about actions. And he gave a very simple example. He was talking about when his son was in a playground in Los Angeles, years ago, and his 2-year-old son was then beaten up by a 6-year-old, right, in the playground. And the mother of the 6-year-old ran over to her son, who beat up his son, and went, "Something must be bothering you." He goes, "I would have slapped him." His actions are what should be driving our
That's so funny.
our
I was
actions,
sitting-
not the feelings. Talk about if the feelings are important. Talk about the feelings afterwards. Do not deny and ignore the actions. But in society today, everyone's worried about feelings. But life is about actions. And Judaism, if anything, Judaism brings to the world, it's about actions. Like, we're not about feelings. Like, everyone goes, "Oh, I don't want to do that mitzvah. I don't want to do that commandment because that commandment represents this value, and I see people doing it, and it doesn't really come out. I believe in the value. I'll do it as I feel."
Judaism is
But we're about
That's
actions.
Judaism 101. One of the things I was taught, basic Jewish concepts, my course at Yeshiva University with the great Rabbi Blum, stressed that he put it into a book, this whole course into this book, basic Jewish concepts. Judaism is about deeds. It's not about your feelings and about this and that, and you can reject things and not accept things, but that's not what God's looking for. He's looking for tachlis, as they say. He's looking for action, and that is the foundation of our entire religion.
But internal action,
deeds.
let's make it because under Islam they also say it's also about action. But external action, what am I going to do to go outside of my space and to push my own mentality? We deserve a whiskey right here.
I want to get back to where we're actually sitting, though. I think there's a cool lesson where we are right now. This is an amazing metal workshop. Absolutely, it's art. I see art everywhere on the walls.
Totally.
But what's really
You're
cool...
holding it. Oh, yeah, just
I'm going to wear it again. What I think is amazing is that what you see around us is raw material. It's raw metal. That metal can be turned into anything this artist chooses. He can turn it into a weapon of war. He can turn it into a shield to defend. Or he can turn it in, like he's doing right now, to a light fixture to bring light into the world. So to us, we have a responsibility to take what is raw material
Oh,
amongst us.
look at this. Look what he's
Look
giving
at
us.
that.
As he's showing us right
Whoa,
now, he's
look
turned
at-
the metal into roses. Whereas we have a battle helmet here, we have roses here. We have the choice to make as Jews how we mold ourselves to be in the future
Yeah.
and on a daily basis.
This reminds me of
Just
the
like
guy,
metal.
the guy in Sderot who takes
so
the
cool.
Rockets.
That's
the
beautiful,
pieces of
yes,
the rockets,
beautiful.
the Qassam rockets, and turns them into roses. I mean, this is probably what those. Bob, he knows him. Bob, he's the guy who turns the
Rockets
the
to roses.
evil and turns it into something positive. You go to the Hesder in Sderot, you go up to the roof of the Hesder yeshiva there, and you see how they use the rockets which are fired in from Hamas. They turn them into a Chanukiah, and they light it up, and they light up the whole town on Hanukkah. The only, as far as I know, the only Qassam rocket menorah in the world. I mean, it's taking that similar potential for evil, and Hamas uses it time and time again, the other terror organizations, and making it into something beautiful. So,
Well, what are
on that note,
On that, we make it
do
l'chaim.
l'chaim to
To Yossi.
Yossi in the
Yossi.
shop?
Your wonderful work. Kol hakavod.
Gur-Arye.
Kol
In his
hakavod.
shop?
Gur-Arye. Come
It is-
check it out on Ofra. Gur-Arye. You have a website? Facebook.
Facebook.
Gur-Arye on Facebook. Come visit.
This
You can
place
bring
is
your
incredible.
family.
Your kids will love it too.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, say Amen.
Playground.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaro.
Hey.
Thanks to Dean. Dean's whiskey.
Ben, you
The
went
other-
all out on us this morning.
I
man.
only buy the best.
The other thing I wanted to mention in terms of being in a workshop. Listen, I take my kippah off to Yossi and other people who they are creators, whether artists or not. You're creators. You take the natural beauty that God gave in this world and you create and make even beautiful things and create something from nothing. I think that's also something very special about returning to our homeland. Like the joke is, if you live in America, I mean, we all grew up there. What are the professions for Jews? Doctors, lawyers, accountants, right? We sort of being out of our homeland. Right? There are creators and artists as well, but more so, again, being outside of our own habitat, we have turned to other professions, and all of a sudden returning to our homeland. And here, the hills of Binyamin, right, where we come from, where our ancestors were, just meters away from where Bar Kokhba fought. And we have people like Yossi who are returning to use their time and their hands and their talents to be creators once again, to be able to make the world a better place from our own ancestral homeland.
There's a whole Jackie Mason skit based on that, and it's based on Jews in America, and just like you said, Jew in America as a doctor or a lawyer, or if he's a little bit off, an accountant. I mean, there's a whole shtick like that, and he talks about his Christian neighbors or his non-Jewish neighbors all Saturday. It's the crux and this in the garage, and they're banging and they're this and that. But you know what? Here in Israel, I mean,
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere because the Jews here in the nation, in the state of Israel, we need somebody to do what Yossi's doing. We need plumbers, and we need electricians, and we need everybody from all the different professions. It's not that
We're returning,
typical.
guys. We're returning to our roots. It's that
Yeah.
simple.
Right, and
Yeah,
believe it or
yeah.
not, it used to be a joke. If you want to be a millionaire in Israel, then come with a lot of a few million. No. If you want to be a millionaire in Israel, be a plumber, be an electrician. You have
know
so much work.
For sure.
You know what? I have to say, when I first came to Israel, I opened up a woodworking shop.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys know this about me.
No, we don't.
So just like you're revealing last week with that you were a social worker.
Yes.
Right? So I was a professionally trained furniture maker. I'll give you an example. I worked for a workshop that I made a set of 10 chairs that sold for $66,000
Holy cow!
in a shop in East Orange, New Jersey. Okay.
Nice.
And I figured I'd come to Israel, and I opened up a workshop. I opened up a workshop in Batayim, overlooking the beautiful hills of Judea. Look, you could see the sea from there. The most romantic thing. In the morning, I learn yeshiva. In the afternoon, I work, and I build my own thing. I do my art. And I completely failed. I completely failed running a business and building something of beauty and creating a brand and everything like that. So the fact of the matter is that we come into this space of Yossi's workshop, and it's not only about, there's some people plumbing and doing all these different things. It is hard work. It is really hard work. And it's when you're dealing with art as well, it's always one of the last things that people are going to purchase. But when you're dealing with an artist, that's when their really creativity there comes out in the world, which is why I specifically wanted to come here. I specifically wanted to come here to the Forge because I knew that Yossi brings in people to share the beauty, to bring in, where's the spear of the Bar Kokhba spear, the the depth that when you come to Judean Samaria, you could go to Shiloh, you go to Sukkot Winery, you could go to Har Bracha, and all these places with historical Tanakh significance. But when you come to the Forge, you're actually working and building in connection to our history, which is why really this is not just a forge, not just a metalworking shop. He's not just an artist. He's it's like being in a time machine where you have one foot in the past, one foot in the future. And so when people are walking away with whatever experience they have, whatever they bring with them, they're bringing with them a piece of our history, of our thing. So I really have such a really high respect, not only of all business owners in Judean Samaria, because as you know, that's what I do. I promote business in Judean Samaria, but those who are involved in the arts, the artisans, the shaping things with their hands. So hands off, hats off to Yosi.
Hands up for Yossi.
To Yosi.
Because he's the real pioneer right now, the modern day pioneer of Israel. We used to look at the old kibbutz, the old kibbutznikim. They used to go and they used to drain the swamps and build. Today we still have pioneers today, and this is.
What's also really cool is like the juxtaposition between this and high tech.
Yeah.
The whole high tech world here, we are known as the high tech country, and then you come into a raw, old time metal workshop with an anvil, and all you want to do, like you said, is just like create a sword or create something incredible. It brings out your passion and your artist within you. This place is just phenomenal.
And to get, I guess, political or to talk about, the current reality, if you were to stand on a hilltop right outside Yossi's shop and you would look 15 kilometers to the west, you would see that startup nation in the lowlands below. Mm-hmm. And my point is that if Yossi's not up here doing what he's doing and building and making these beautiful products or whatnot, then you don't have that high-tech startup nation, which is literally just 15 to 20 kilometers in the valley below where we are right now.
And that's the beauty of the unity of Israel. We are 12 tribes working together with one common base of unity, which is Israel. We all have our different jobs. And that's what we're building.
We hope. That's the ideal.
One by one.
Listen. Let's not forget that only less than a kilometer and a half away is Amona. As you know, 2 years ago, you and Ari came up to Amona. It was raining. It was freezing. And you're trying to create some sort of, you're trying to give them chizuk, you're trying to strengthen them in their resolve.
Right.
And
for those not familiar, Amona was a community that was unfortunately taken down because the left succeeded in abusing the judicial system to destroy that community. It's since rebuilt, but it's right here, and please God, one day we're going to rebuild Amona. They're going to be back there, and there'll be a huge community one day, and you'll be able to visit.
But I don't believe it's the left that's doing it. Sorry.
No, it's the right that's doing it.
It's all of us. We're the Jewish nation. We all call Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh. It's unity. God chose to build His most holy place on earth, the Holy of Holies, out of one pure block of gold, forged out of one pure block of gold, with two baby-faced angels representing what? Unity. What was destroyed because of a lack of unity? God's resting place on earth, our temple. So too, communities all around us will continue to be taken down and destroyed because we ourselves are not doing what we should be doing.
What should we be doing?
We have to embrace each other in unity, and we have to fight injustice at every corner.
That's a great slogan. They should make a banner of that, and people go wave their flag, but it's not going to do anything.
That the political aspect is not going to save us.
100%, and I believe one of the most important aspects of what we are doing here as the Judean Roundtable, with our voices coming together, as well as what each of us are doing
and that answers his question right there, his statement.
Right, coming individually, exactly.
No,
is raising the awareness, necessary. So we're reaching one Jew at a time.
I mean, yesterday I got into a whole firestorm on Twitter because of something I said. But there was one person there, and I'm not going to get into the whole discussion. There was one person there who was trying to insist that the whole Zionist, she called it a project, was doomed because of Israel's presence in Judea and Samaria. And she actually said that Israel is destroying itself from within, and within 50 years, Israel will no longer exist because of our presence in Judea and Samaria. But the question I have really is, you're talking about Jewish unity. How do you... where do you draw the line? At what point, you're trying to explain things to people, you're trying to share the realities, and there are people who reject it, and you want to embrace your fellow Jew. How do you tiptoe around those who, reject everything you have to say, who don't want to be a part of the Zionist dream, who don't value Israel, when they're voting, let's say, in the U.S. elections, and don't, not a top 5 issue on their agenda, yet somehow they think it's okay to criticize Israel because they're being hypocrites, even though they don't value it when they go to the ballot box. You want to create unity, but how do you do so without getting those facts out and not sticking it to somebody to a point where they interpret it as hate,
Because
even
it's
if you're
never
trying to
worked.
bring them in?
That has not worked up until now.
Wait,
It
what
will
hasn't?
not. Teaching those who hate Israel a history lesson.
You
Yeah.
can't help
They
those
don't
who won't
care.
help
But they're
themselves.
Jews, though.
But
No,
that's
but
fine.
But they're
they,
Jews.
they are cutting themselves out
But that's
Right.
okay.
of,
Look,
of the
Right.
Jewish people.
I'm asking
I'm sorry,
practically
it's
how
not
to,
that.
how to do it.
We have
How
freedom
to
of
do it
choice.
without, go ahead.
We have freedom of choice.
Yeah.
We talk about God here.
Yeah.
Talk about religion, what God wants from us. We always, no matter what, have freedom of choice. We can choose to go left or right. Choose to eat kosher, non-kosher. Choose to keep Shabbat, not. Choose to speak Lashon Hara about somebody else, baseless hatred, or not. So too, Jews throughout the world can make a decision and a choice based on all of the facts surrounding them.
Right.
If they continue to choose that Israel is a oppressive, warmongering state, and they don't want a part of it, that is their choice.
We're not a warmongering state.
we don't have to embrace their lies. We simply don't have to give them a platform anymore to shout to the world.
I want to
from.
focus on the positive.
Yeah,
all right?
okay.
I am so bullish about the future of the
Hell
Jewish people and the state of Israel. Okay?
Me too.
I'm so bullish. But let me tell you why. Because we're seeing it.
Yeah.
All right? On the same token, I am extremely pessimistic about the future of Judaism, of the Jewish people, in the exile. And I'm
Right.
not calling it the diaspora. I call it the exile. We were exiled out of our homeland. Living outside of Israel, you're living in the exile. You don't want to accept that? That's a different issue. Okay? But I'm extremely pessimistic about the future of the Jewish people outside of Israel. Why am I bullish about the future of the Jewish people and the state of Israel? Because a true unity is happening right around us as we speak. You look at, I'm not talking about a political unity. There's never going to be a political alignment of everyone agreeing on the right political plan. Things are going to happen. God has a plan. We have to make it happen. But you look at the statistics. The percentage of Israelis, of the Jewish Israeli public, who keep the Jewish holidays, who fast on Yom Kippur. You're talking about close to 80-90% statistics of Jewish Israelis. That is a unification, a strengthening of the Jewish identity of individual Jews in this country and a whole as a collective. Most of the division in this country is not on the street. Even with our political differences, and you can have a rightist and a leftist, you argue and you're screaming at each other, and in most of the time, afterwards you're hugging each other. We're not allowing the political divisions to break apart our families and our friendships, even when we're working together right next to each other in the same cubicles in Tel Aviv. And that is ultimately the unity that is strengthening in the process that's taking place before our eyes that we're a part of, and because of that, I'm extremely bullish.
But that's the unity through
That was awesome.
through proximity. I think when you're in proximity to each other, and when you're living in a Jewish state with our cultural Judaism, that's going to tie us together. But what
100%.
Josh is talking about, probably somebody outside of Israel.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, you have three choices. Number one, block them. Okay, leave them alone. Number two, you can keep arguing with them, trying to change their mind. That's also worthless. Or three, you can understand that more than one person is watching the conversation. So you need to engage them. You could humiliate them. You could continue to have a normal conversation with them and just speak to the audience, right?
Right.
And knowing that your worth and your value of this conversation is not about changing their opinion. It's about forming the opinion of those who are in the middle who don't have that extreme that don't have the extreme outlook. So I believe that that's a worthwhile conversation to have,
Right.
but not for the sake of changing their
The
own
minds,
opinion.
correct.
But I would say, listen, let's place a bet. Let's place a bet that in 50 years from now, that the Jewish people are in Judea and Samaria, and we'll place a bet that you have Jewish grandchildren.
Yeah, but the answer is obvious what you're saying.
Well, what's the question?
There is no future for Judaism outside these borders. And it's not just me being an alarmist.
No.
It's just looking
It's
at the
statistics.
data in front
Look
of
at the
you
Pew report
and
after Pew
analyzing
report
it.
after Pew report. And again, and this is the message I tweet out there and I put out there on a daily basis. Either a Jew, and I don't care how religious a Jew is. I mean, even the four of us, We don't do things exactly the same. You're more stringent about certain commandments than and less on some things. You're more stringent on some things and less on others.
Okay.
No two Jews are exactly the
That's
same,
true.
right? Judaism is not Orthodox, conservative, reformer. It's all made up. We're Jews, and we're supposed to try to be the best Jews we can be. Each putting different emphasis, obviously trying as best as possible. I don't care how religious a person is. That's not the definition of a Jew. But if you're living outside of Israel, there's only two ways you could succeed about ensuring Jewish continuity in your own family. Either you are Orthodox, right? You associate yourself with a religious lifestyle, which gives you a system that allows you to pass over the Jewish heritage to your children and them to their children, etc. Or you are strongly connected to Israel, ideally ending up moving here. But if you're a Jew and you do not hold by a religious lifestyle, you don't keep Shabbat, you don't keep the holidays, you are anti-Israel, forget it. Your children or grandchildren you are cutting the branch of your descendants from being part of the Jewish people.
And myself, I'm an anomaly. I want everybody to know that that's the background that I grew up in. I didn't grow up going to a day school. I didn't grow up going with my father to shul. We would fast on Yom Kippur, but once we look out the window and said, we can't see the sun anymore, let's go eat. Right? That was the kind of thing that was it. We had Pesach Seder, it wasn't kosher, everything, whatever. And thank God for birthright. I was on the first birthright trip, and it opened up. My connection to Judaism became the land of Israel, but that's not also enough. Right?
But there's no excuses anymore.
Right.
No.
For $600, I checked before I left here today. For $600, even though it's Air Turkey or whatever, Air Russia, Air Palestine, you can get to this country.
Air Palestine is one way on a rocket.
It's the safest flight out there. Nobody's hijacking it. You can get to Israel now for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
You can tour the country with a backpack and a tent.
You can have a Ben Goldstein experience.
You damn well better have a Ben Goldstein experience, or I'll come after you.
You might have to buy that mask.
I'm buying it. I'm riding a Tom car with this from now on.
We have to end up, so I think we should go to the...
Things we like, things we don't?
Yeah.
Wow.
Go for it.
Things we like, things we don't like.
All right, I'm stealing it, man.
Go for it.
Let's go. Go.
Sorry, I was first. Super Bowl 53, New England Patriots victory. Those who know me know that I'm a huge Colts fan, so it hurts to see, to some degree, it still hurts to see the Patriots be so successful. That being said, Robert Kraft and his entire family and his late wife Myra Kraft, true friends and supporters of Israel.
I
wouldn't say they're my friends, but friends of friends.
Okay.
So not only do they have amazing, not only do they have business interests in Israel, they give so much back in terms of philanthropy. So it's good to see such a pro-Israel and proud Jew who speaks Hebrew, who identifies with the Jewish people, who gives back to Israel on a daily basis, being so successful, even if it's in the world of NFL, because his success there just spirals into his successes and his other work and his philanthropy. So congratulations to Robert Kraft, the Kraft family, and the New England Patriots. As hard as that is for me to say, being a big, proud Indianapolis Colts fan, that's the positive. The negative is perhaps, I guess it's negative. Avi kind of turned it into a positive, and Ben and you guys, and also in terms of the Twitter battles, and it's not easy. It's difficult to see such hatred from fellow Jews who put down the land of Israel, who are trying to teach me, trying to convince me that I can be a great and proud Jew. I don't need Israel. I don't need to support Israel. I don't need to care about Israel. I can do my part here in this country for my family. I don't need the land of Israel. So that it hurts me to see people with such skewed views and not realizing that Judaism is a mix. Torah, Israel, combined. That's Judaism 101. And if you don't get that, I feel bad for you. And so that hurts me to see that. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to start with things I don't like. Talking about Twitter battles and Facebook battles, we were called out as being missionaries.
Right.
Last week we were called out as being missionaries, and not only were we called as being missionaries,
clowns, I think.
Some loser, and I'll call him a loser, I don't care, I'm not going to name names. Some loser actually spent probably about an hour creating this slideshow video about how we're missionaries.
Really? I didn't see
it's
that.
completely ridiculous. Anyway, things that I do like, which is actually funny, which ties into the accusation of us being missionaries, is that I sat in a meeting with a Christian pastor and his wife yesterday, looking to connect the Christian community further to Judea and Samaria in order to be a fighter for sovereignty for the Jewish people in Judea and Samaria. So, although we obviously are not involved in missionary work, we do see a tremendous value in our Christian brothers and sisters that we could find a project, the Zionist project, to work on together. Absolutely. And so if you're, oh, by the way, I also put something on Twitter. I'm sitting in the meeting yesterday, and they're like, I wonder how many people are connected with, Christians are connected with Judean Samaria and want sovereignty. So without them knowing, I tweeted something out asking people what they thought, and please comment yes if you're Christian and you support sovereignty. And I got over 200 responses.
Amazing.
Just like that. And I don't have a Christian audience. That's not my focus. But so there is a huge Christian support system for Judean Samaria. Unfortunately, they completely trump any support we're getting from the Jewish community. We see AIPAC and all these different organizations. So thank God for the Christian community, support for the Jewish people in Israel and Judean Samaria.
He who blesses shall be blessed. It's written right there in the book.
Amen.
Doesn't mean that makes us into a Christian. It simply means that we understand the value of having friends in this world, in a world that has been our prosecutor for so many years, including the Christians themselves. The church has been a horrible prosecutor of the Jewish nation. But we're in a time right now where we've reached an apex where Jews can be Jews, Christians can be Christians, and we can also work with Israel as a unifying base to join hands and create a better future for the world, each within our own boundaries.
Dude, you're out of line. It's his turn.
Go. I'm not saying what I hate or don't like. I'm just talking, man. I'm so sick of people calling me a missionary. Put this helmet on, I'm going to bash you with it. I don't mess around.
Are you going to go into your like and don't like? Do you want to go after me?
No, go please. I'll shut up now.
Alright, I'm going to touch upon the Super Bowl also. I'm going to touch upon the Super Bowl MVP, Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman, he as a person is an inspiration. We all should be inspired by him, and I want to touch upon the Jewish inspiration that comes from him. He was born to a Jewish father and a non-Jewish mother. Alright, so that means, like, according to Jewish law, he actually is not Jewish. But his soul, folks, his soul and how he lives his life, he is more Jewish and more proud of his Jewish heritage, even though it's only through his father, than many Jews today. And that is the inspiration people should be looking at. After Pittsburgh, he helped raise money, the Pittsburgh massacre of the Jews in the synagogue, he helped raise money for that community, for the Pittsburgh synagogue. He visited Israel. He is a proud Jew, even though he is not really a Jew according to Jewish law. But he feels that depth of the identity to be proud of it and be public about that. Mm-hmm. And then you'd be inspired about his personal story. He was a tiny guy. He was looked over. He was a quarterback. He was the end of the draft. And he turns out to be this unbelievable superstar, which should be a personal inspiration for each and every one of us. Don't let life dictate to you who you are and how you succeed. It is all up to you and how much effort you put into succeeding. Be inspired by Julian Edelman. And I want to jump to what I don't like about this week, and I'm going to go back also to the Twitter and Facebook wars that I'm a part of, and I was piggyback Josh's. So here's what bothers me, because I get all these attacks from people, and I call them in Jew in name only, unfortunately, because they're bashing Israel, and they don't want anything to do with Israel and their Jewish identity, and Israel has nothing to do with their Jewish identity, and religion really doesn't. They define themselves as Jews because of their progressive value system. All right, here's what they're missing. Israel is the most inspiring story of humanity today. And if they were actually true to some of the values they profess are so important to them, human rights, equal opportunity, Israel is a shining star for those values. But instead of connecting with their Jewish identity, instead of looking for the truths to learn about and internalize and believe and tell others, they are pathetic in believing lies and then bash their own people, their own homelands, their own identity. And that is what saddens me. But if each and every one of you can hone in on Israel as the most inspiring story. We were exiled for 2,000 years. We come back to our homeland. We're an indigenous people. We give freedom and equality to all who live within our borders, even though this is the Jewish country meant to protect Jews in the world. But we want everyone who lives peacefully with us to live in peace. And look at what we've developed. this is an inspiration. Israel is an inspiration. Be inspired by Israel.
Excellent.
Goldstein.
I am inspired by Israel.
Wow. There, that's the positive. Now we're at the negative.
Oh no, with the
I'm
positive. Thanks. You're my lawyer. Positive is 50.
He's not a man of a lot of words. That's been Goldstein guy.
After 1,000 years of solitude, living amongst their strangers in a strange land, but still keeping the Torah in its core. 50 Ethiopian Jews returned to the land of Israel this week. And these are people who had no connection to the land of Israel, had no connection to the people of Israel, were completely cut off from their brothers and sisters, a different color of their skin. Yet Israel not only welcomes them with open arms, they fly them in. They cover their expenses, their living expenses for the first year of their life. They offer them the ability to learn new trades and to join Israeli society. So all of those haters of Israel out there that call us a racist, bigoted, apartheid state, we quite literally just flew Africans into our country.
For freedom.
For freedom to continue.
Not to be slaves,
to
to be
be
free.
the Jews that they have been for 1,000 years. To continue to explore their culture and their history and their religion. And to become, like we are in a metal workshop, to join and become a stronger nation of Israel. That's the positive.